Hi, family. I want to read a passage to you as we talk about today's promise, but I want you to consider it in line with a number of other passages. Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse number 6. There, Moses writes, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." And when you study this text, study it with at least 4 or 5 other passages that you'll see that communicate the same thought, and we'll get to it here in just a minute. But look at Isaiah 41, verse 10 and 13. Look at Joshua 1, verse 8 and 9. Look at Matthew 28, verse 20. Look at Psalm 23, verse number 4. Look at Isaiah 12 and verse 2. Look at Hebrews 13, verses 5 through 6. And over again, what you'll find is that God has made you a promise, and he's made me a promise. And that promise is that he is with us. Not just with you in the sense that you can cognitively file that away and say, oh, that's more Bible information for me to register and let it just drop in my mental file that says theology. No, let that ruminate for a minute. Let it really speak to your spirit before you just launch it and put it back in your head. Let that promise seep deep down into the reality of your life, and think about it. The all-powerful, transcendent, self-existent creator of the world, the one who holds everything together, the one that made everything that you know, that God has promised to be with you. That God has promised to be a part of. Not only did he create the world that you're living in and made an environment conducive for you to exist, but he's promised that he will be with you in that existence. Whatever season you're in, whatever time you're in, whatever context you're in, God said, I'm with you. And when you think about that, when you allow how awesome it is for that to be a part of your life, it also does something else, or at least it should, in my conviction. It allows you to be humbled by the thought of how you mentally process the ongoing reality that God is always with you. That's his promise to you. That's his promise to me. And I've been humbled in a number of ways. When I think about it, I'm one of the things that presses me is I think about how my daughter, my baby girl, responds when she hears that I'm leaving or going out of town, and she gets emotional and she gets teary-eyed and she cries and she has a little moment where she gets bothered that daddy is leaving. And I think about that, but then I invert it and I wonder how I would mentally process life if I emotionally connected and allowed myself to legitimately realize that God is with me all the time. If I can invert that feeling and invert that rationale that God is with me, it changes a number of things. And I got 5 things that I think that this promise will help you with. When you and I process the reality that God is with you at all times, it ought to, number 1, affect your conviction. We ought not be intimidated by anything, any person, any problem, any situation that we deal with. Deuteronomy 31 and verse number 6 is a text that speaks to that. You go back and read it. When you allow the reality that God is with you to be a part of your spirit, it will affect your conviction on how you deal with anyone. If God is with you, what in the world would you be afraid of? But then that leads you to number 2. Not only does it affect your conviction that I am not alone, I am with God, I am not walking through this situation by myself, it is more than me all the time, then that blesses me to have courage. Joshua 1 and verse 8 and 9. No wonder God had to remind him, be courageous. I'm with you. Jehovah's with you. So not only does it affect my conviction, it affects my courage, but then number 3, it blesses you to be comforted. When you know that Jehovah is with you, Hear the psalm now, Psalm 23, I believe, verse number 4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they do what? They comfort me. When God is with you, not only should you have conviction, and not only should you be courageous, but you ought to be comforted. And when you are courageous and comforted and convicted about the reality that God is with you, it blesses you with courage. Isaiah 41, look at this text. Isaiah 41, verse 10, and also verse number 13, helps us to appreciate that we should never feel helpless. We should never feel hopeless. We should never be despondent or allow life to be so overwhelming that we're not connected to the reality that God is with you. Why? Because God promises, not only is he with you, I will be your help. When everybody else lets you down, I'm your help. When everybody else turns their back, I'm your help. When your friends forsake you, I'm your help. When your family forgets about you, I'm your help. I'm your strength. I will support you with my right arm. I'm the one that you need. And when you got that, you got comfort that allows you to walk with your head up. And I think that blesses you with this last little important point, that not only do you have, or not only should you have conviction, and not only should you have courage and be comforted and be confident as you walk through this life, but aren't you blessed? Wouldn't life change if you 24/7 lived in the reality that God is with you? Like right now, as you're watching, as I'm speaking, God is with you. He is present with you. And when you know that, doesn't it change how you deal with tragedy, how you deal with issues, how you deal with your next moment? Gives you a sense of calm, number 5. A sense of joy and peace that can't be moved by anything else. And I love that, because when Jesus gives this commission for us as disciples to go into all the world, we needed to know that he's with us. But if he's with you, what does that mean? That means you can beat life and whatever it throws at you. You can beat sin. You can beat Satan. You can even beat death. So come on, bring it. Why? Because he's with me. I've got a calm that you can't take. I've got a promise that transcends my next moment. Listen, God has made you a promise. Do you believe it? I do. And I'm praying that you walk in that promise every single moment. God is with you. Live your day under that reality. Let it be the difference that makes the difference as you take your next step. I'm praying for you. Pray for me. Let's embrace the promise. God bless you today.